Thank you for having me here to present the status of this project for interconnecting land registers in the European Union, and alongside to make a bit of advertisement about this. So let's dive right in. Any particular thing I need to do for this?
No, it will come.
Maybe point it somewhat higher.
Yeah, the presentation is not started yet.
It's coming.
Okay.
Be patient.
Well, until the technical people sort this out, the idea of this project is, like the name implies, is interconnecting land registers throughout the European Union. What we have here is a technical layer and the semantics layer, as mentioned by one of my predecessors. For the technical layer, it's mostly a transport device for carrying information from the base registers towards citizens or professional users. And for the semantics layer, I will later on get the support of colleagues from ELRA, the European Land Register Association, who developed and still are working on the semantic interoperability between land registers. Now, on one of the upcoming slides, hopefully. Now, this is the advertisement part. It's the grant proposal of which any member state or associations of member states can enjoy within the Ejustice grant program 2014-2018. So the project is on a voluntary basis. There is no obligation for member states or for land registers to join in the project. Good, we have more colors on the screen. So now you can finally take your eyes off me, hopefully. All right. So this is what I'm talking about, this is who I am, and this is where I work. Okay, next. Contents. A bit of context, I started with it. What the context of the project is, and a bit of the picture of land registration at the European level. Next, we're going to talk about the status of the project and next steps. We're going to have a quick look into the way it has been implemented. Next on, we are going down to the national level to see how land registration is organized by the member states or by the regions. Then we will move on to a brief presentation of the availability of data across the European Union, both in electronic or alternative forms, legacy systems. And then on with the presentation of how the land register interconnection system plans on standardizing access to such resources. The last point of the presentation will be about authentication and authorization of professional users and citizens alike, which would be an enabler for accessing the land register information. And not just that, of course, my colleagues talked about different contexts where that will be handy. So the project to which I will refer as LRI, one of the words there, so there are three words in the name. One is a bit misleading, the interconnection part. The purpose of the project is not connecting one register to the other, but more presenting data drawn from individual land registers to the public, whether private or professional public, through a common interface, which will be hosted on the European Ejustice portal. This is an initiative of the European Commission, the Director General for Justice and Consumers. The portal has been launched a bit more than 10 years ago, and for the last 6 years, my colleagues and I have been working on adding content, on giving citizens and law practitioners, businesses, access to civil and criminal law information, ways of interacting with authorities, a means, for example, to consult case law data. My colleague Vincent just talked about the BRIS project, interconnecting the business registers, which is also has as an entry point the Ejustice portal. There are means to file complaints or small claims, finding lawyers, finding notaries in specific countries. So a number of registries have been already interconnected on the Ejustice portal, and this land register interconnection is the latest effort in this respect. Now, the European picture of land registering and a user who wants to get information from more than one member state is the following. This user would have to take his request to member state authorities or through their portals or locally on the physical offices. Each time a payment might be required in the local currency of that member state. The legal value of the data provided will be different, and they will need to be aware of what the implications are. And every time, of course, if it's electronic access to data, the user would have to log into the individual portals of the member states. A number of member states already offer such facilities, very often in their own language, which is also a barrier to the dissemination of data. The Ejustice portal aims at making information available to all users in their own language. And we will see further how the access is enabled by the LRI project. The status of the project. The project is not live yet. We launched first pilot phase, which is available as a demo on a contractor's website. The address is there. I believe the slides will be shared after the conference, so feel free to go and check this out. Currently, the data over there is just demo data, so addresses are fake and fake land registers, but it will give an idea of the way it works. At the end of the presentation, there is a contact email address. Feel free to send any comments or views on that. The next developments include a mechanism for authenticating and authorizing users, mainly legal professionals, government staff, or business users who have a more extended set of needs and for which the system will offer an extended set of features. Our piloting member countries are Austria and Estonia, who started work based on a grant from the European Commission. Their project will come to fruition in mid 2019. Hopefully other countries will file for grants as, again, the advertisement part. The link over there, the Justice Action Grants, is actually clickable. So once you get your hands on the presentation, I warmly invite you to go there. The period for submitting grants has started. There is a how-to explanation on how to file for grants. The Austrian and Estonian counterparts have kindly offered to share their application with any member state for consultation, for help in building their own proposal for grants. That is also available. Just contact us at the address that you will see at the end. So as a small detail here, the grant will not only cover the work necessary for making the national data searchable from the outside, but also adjustments to the authentication and authorization systems, which may or may not be available already in member states. This is a picture of how the system has been designed. It's from step 1, member state B, but any other member state will provide to the Commission a set of static information, conditions of use, disclaimers, where the legal value of the information will be presented, or links to national websites presenting supplementary information. Each member state will provide this in their own language, and the information will be translated by the Commission in all other languages. At the second step, we have a user that comes to the Ejustice portal, the land register interconnection page, in view of a search. There, an anonymous user can go straight on to the search page, but a professional user has the possibility of authenticating as a professional. Then they would be redirected to a professional authentication system. In this picture, it is the one of their own member state. We will see alternative scenarios to that. The authentication system will return a security token to the Ejustice portal, which will then attach this security token, which states who the person is and what their role is, whether a legal practitioner or a government employee, for example. So this security token will be attached to every further search queries launched by the user within the same session. The security token will then be discarded. So the search is then forwarded to member state B, say, which will authorize the user. We will see further on what the options are at that level. If the authentication is successful, then the search is further forwarded to the land register, which will then return the data to the user, and a payment may or may not be required by the land register. Now, a few words about the way the land register is organized at national levels, which will give you an idea. Well, some of the people here know much more about me than this, so you're welcome to chip in at the question part. we counted 436 offices for land data registration in the EU, of which 345 are in one specific member state, organized at a regional level. In some cases, these regional land registers do not present the data in a consolidated central way. So a one-to-one connection should be made between LRI and these regional registers. The way the organization models are implemented in member states can differ also from one member state to the other. Some will have central registers, again, some regional registers. Some will have a common register for the land register and the cadastre, or these will be different. Some other member states will have address registers or so on. This adds to the complexity of drawing relevant data from the registers. The national authorities as well, which are responsible for the functioning of the land registers are different. In some countries, it can be the Ministry of Justice, in other, the State Department for land registers, or geodesy, cartography agencies, local courts, or even the Ministry of the Environment. During the feasibility study that preceded the launch of the project, we looked at the availability of data throughout the European Union and in which format it is available. We have seen that in each member state there is at least one register which is fully digital. The contents may not be complete in terms of territorial coverage or historical coverage, but there is at least one register. A few member states, again, the territorial coverage is not fully implemented, but consolidation work is ongoing. Has to be said that in many member states, this work of digitization started mainly after the year 2000. So in some cases, going backwards in time and covering the full history was not really feasible. So in some of the member states, the data is still offline, very often on paper format. Electronic access is possible, but in some cases it is limited to the use of the national administration, who sometimes have to go on the spot at the premises of the land register office to access the data. In other cases, they can connect remotely and they have security tokens, or they use their personal ID to log in. In 23 of the 28 currently member states provide also online access, not just offline for governmental users. And in some cases, the accessibility is limited to a subset of data, whereas the full data is reserved to government or professional users. And again, of course, legacy systems that are not easily interconnected, or paper registries can still be made available through LRI via manual actions. Currently, the way it works is the user executes the search for documents, and then they order the document. Everything until here happens synchronously in one user session, and then they will get an email where they will have a link that will allow them to go back to their ordered page and get the documents as they become available. So there is an asynchronous step there where a registrar can go back to the archive and scan the document or check for the proof of legal interest from the user. These organizational barriers and availability issues at national level have found a solution in the LRI project, which is evolving. We can adapt to specific needs, but the model offers a search interface in all EU languages. All languages are already available on the portal for the complete set of information. Also, the translation of labels and legal concepts is offered or will be offered very soon on LRI. One of the difficulties in accessing, of course, cross-border information is not only the language, but the different concepts used in the different legal systems in member states. So what we aim at is translating to the maximum extent possible the labels in the presentation of the document in the target language of the user, and also the legal concepts. Until now, we discussed the technical layer for interconnection of the land register. This point here is about semantic interoperability, for which I warmly invite you to check out the ELRA project stand just outside during the lunch break. Mr. Jesus Cami from the European Land Register Association will be there to demonstrate the Imola 2 project, which is also an initiative supported via a grant from the European Commission, which aims at building a semantic model that will allow to build an equivalence of the legal concepts related to land registration across the European Union. They have their national contact points that upload national descriptions for every legal concept in their own corresponding to their own system and their own language. And then the equivalence will be made across languages and across systems. This will result in a product that is called the European Land Register document, which will present the land register data in a way that will be more easily understandable by a citizen of a member state when accessing data from the other member states. The demonstration will be then available just outside. We looked at this European Land Register document from the perspective of reusability, not only cross-border, but cross-sector as well, in a context where financial sectors, banking, mortgage people will be interested in accessing land register data. In this respect, we are in contact with the ISA² Programme. We have run a few rounds of reviews of the ELRD interface, where we have seen that, yes, a number of concepts have been reused, such as the location, person, business core vocabularies, and there is an opening from the part of the ISA² initiative of maybe extending these vocabularies or even creating a tailor-made core vocabulary for expressing the land registration needs. A next challenge would be the legal value of the information that is available from member states. The way the registration has been historically organized in member states can follow two different paths, either deeds or titles. Certain member states work with both. The legal value of these documents can be different. Also, the electronic version that land register can provide will vary from one member state to the other. Some will certify that the information is fully accurate at the moment where it has been released. And this information is usable in court, for example. Others provide this just for information purposes. The electronic version can be used for information, but further on for use in court or for legal transactions, the user will still have to go to the land registration office and get the paper and the stamp. This will be facilitated through disclaimers that each country can provide, either on the static information page or along with the data they provide. And then again, soon to come is the facility of offering documents which are subject to a fee. Across Europe, a number of land registers will offer the information for free, but most of them will require a payment. So again, the payment will be facilitated in the currency of the user. If I still have the time to touch upon the authentication, very briefly. The sabotage. There it is. Let's give it a chance. So the authentication and authorization need is not new. I will present it here in the in the context of land registration. I would like to see an initiative at a wider level for authenticating professional users. Here we talk about lawyers, notaries, bailiffs, or governmental staff. In many member states, search for such data is reserved for professional users, and searching for the name of the person or their ID can be only reserved, for example, for governmental staff. For these purposes, we should work, and the LRI would work with professional authentication system at the level of each member state, which may or may not be part of each land register. For some member states do not have such a system available, and for them we will offer alternative solutions. But the general picture is that with very few exceptions, all member states allow cross-border access to their data, and this will allow the land register interconnection to move forward. Thank you.